everybody, and welcome to episode 33 of The Worst Talk Show. I'm your host, DJ Angie C, and normally to my right, possibly your left, is handsome boyfriend Dave, but he is on assignment in Tahiti tonight. So I will be flying Han Solo, and I hope y'all bear with me. I wasn't expecting to host the show by myself tonight, but I am kind of a professional, so I'm sure I'll figure it out. It's going to be a great show, and as soon as I can make sure that I see everybody's comments and whatnot, we'll be off and running, and that will be totally the best because you are the best part of the show. So far, so good. Smitty is here. Hello, Smitty. Anngelle Wood is our big special guest tonight. I sort of gave a hint out last night about it, or yesterday. The funny thing about Anngelle and I, and we'll talk about this at great length, she'll be popping on around 8 o'clock, is that we were often mistaken for each other. Angie C, Anngelle Wood, there's an Ange in there. We look nothing alike, we sound nothing alike, and yet somehow people confuse us constantly. So it was a lot of fun for us for whenever we were on FNX together or ZLX together. And she actually replaced me when I left FNX on the morning show. I actually got to train her before I left for greener pastures, if you will. So hello to Smitty. Sean O'Brien is here. Sam Avola is here. I want to send out lots of love to Holly Cantor, who is not going to be joining us tonight. She was not feeling very well today. So I don't know if something's going around with Holly and Dave, because Dave's not feeling very well either. Although officially he's on assignment in Tahiti and he's okay. He actually sends his love and misses everybody terribly, and we'll be back next week, faux show. So we'll see Anngelle on soon. And of course, we're going to talk Boston emissions. We're going to talk Crime of the Truest Kind, which is her new podcast, which is just amazing. If you haven't heard it yet, oh my God, it's so good. There's a 3-part like 3 episodes dealing with the station fire in Rhode Island years ago that we all know many people that were there, actually. Hey, Riddles is here. Hello, Riddles. Casey is in the house. So lots to get to before we get to Anngelle. And I think Anngelle will be the first official FNX alum to have on the show. And one of the things that I've really been dreaming about is sort of having an FNX alum series of guests. So I guess we will kick it off with Anngelle, and maybe we'll spill some tea. Who knows? So get your questions ready. So we'll talk about lots of stuff, but as always, the show is about things to watch, things to listen to, and things to eat, make, or bake, right? So let's start off with things we watched this week. The United States versus Billie Holiday. Anybody else? Anybody else? So good, right? I am in love with, I think her name's Andra Day, who played Billie Holiday. She deserves all the awards because she's amazing. Yes, Tahiti love right back at Dave. Thank you, Smitty. I don't know if anybody else saw this. It's definitely not a super uplifting film. And you're really, I mean, the United States government really had it in for this lady. They wanted her to stop singing the song Strange Fruit. If you're not familiar with Billie Holiday and Strange Fruit, it is a song about lynching in America. It is a very profound song based on an amazing poem written by a Jewish man, actually. And the Strange Fruit, alluding to the bodies hanging from trees down south. So they really wanted Billie to stop singing this song because, it made white cisgender men uncomfortable. I was just channeling my inner 16-year-old daughter there for a second. And she refused. So what did they do? Well, they found out she was a heroin addict and they went after her to the point where when she was on her deathbed, they planted drugs on her and arrested her and actually I believe handcuffed her to the bed as she was dying from cirrhosis of the liver. So not exactly a feel-good story, obviously, but really important. And after watching Judas and the Black Messiah, you know, these are stories that need to be told and need to be amplified as much as possible. So I did want to say, you know, please do yourself a favor when you have a moment. Maybe a Sunday afternoon would be good. United States versus Billie Holiday. Pretty great. Casey Riddles thinks I look great tonight. Well, thank you, Casey. I get to hog the whole couch to myself. I mean, Grogu is here. And of course, the Venmo tip jar is always represented. Thank you. We did get to watch Coming to America 2. What did everybody think? We were way surprised at how bad it was not. I really wasn't expecting much. I really didn't think it was going to be much of anything, but I was very pleasantly surprised, and I hope you were too. Just all the little Easter eggs, and you know, I mean, Gladys Knight, Morgan Freeman, Salt and Pepper, and Vogue. I mean, we just laughed and laughed and laughed. And Arsenio Hall is back, and them doing all the characters from the barbershop was just hilarious. It was a lot of fun. So if you were sort of on the fence, like, Coming to America 2 is probably terrible, not terrible, and actually very enjoyable. It's just a huge bucket of nostalgia. And the really funny thing for me is that his palace in Zamunda, they used rapper Rick Ross's house for a lot of the scenes. And Mo, that guy's got a nice house. I guess it was Evander Holyfield's first mansion, or, you know, big house. It's on like 84 acres of land or whatever. So it's beautifully shot, and I really liked it. So I'm seeing comments, but nothing's coming up right now. But please give me your feedback if you did see Coming to America 2 and what you thought. And I'm going to take a sippy break. And if you think I'm totally okay with Dave not being here, you're wrong. I miss him terribly, even though he's only 2 floors up, but he's really just not feeling well. So wasn't up for it today. I mean, Tahiti. He's in Tahiti. More Stanley Tucci eating in Italy, searching for Italy. Oh my God. I can't get enough with Stanley Tucci. I'm fangirling so hard over this man, the way he dressed, the way he talks, the way he speaks Italian, and more importantly, the way he eats food and swears immediately when he tastes something amazing. Riddle says there's a big Zamunda flag at the Boston Harbor Hotel. I know, I saw that picture you posted. I thought that was great. I hope we get to see more of that stuff. Zamunda! And if you guys never got a chance to see it, Google Coming to America and the prom. There was, I'm sure this has happened more than once, but there was a gal going to her prom. I want to say it was in Atlanta, but don't quote me on that. And she had like a full entourage, just like Coming to America. Everybody was in full outfit and arriving to the prom, and it's like the coolest thing you've ever seen. So definitely check that out. Smitty says, I want a season 2 of Tucci. We're going to get it, right? I mean, we have to get it. He's just so good. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, this show is on CNN. And it's basically Stanley Tucci going to the best parts of Italy, and each region has their own food and their own way of doing things. And so he eats and he talks, and you just feel like you're on vacation with Stanley Tucci. And frankly, like, I don't know that I want to see Italy without him. Like, I feel like, is there a tour? Could there be a tour like back in the old days where you would go with Rex Trailer on those ridiculous tours that I can't remember the name of? Like, I want to sign up and go on an Italy tour with Stanley Tucci, or not at all. Riddles, he still can't find Italy. Oh, he's having fun, trust me. Dan Kotko, he will feel better, and of course he misses you as well. We miss all of you guys. The best and freshest steak I ever had was in Florence, Italy. Smitty, oh, the steak that they made was it in Bologna or Tuscany? Oh my God. Like, you know, you're just drooling and like licking the TV screen. Hey, James Duda, Tucci tours. See, it sort of writes itself. I think we should do that. The only problem with watching Stanley Tucci as he tours Italy and eats the most amazing food and shows you where the most beautiful, you know, tomatoes are made or grown, and mozzarella made, and all of that, prosciutto in Parma. is that you have to eat while you watch the show, because if you don't, you'll immediately be like on the phone and dialing up whatever the closest pasta restaurant is and just overeating. So eat it while you're having, or watch it while you're eating like a nice salad and maybe some lean meat. That's what I would suggest. Otherwise, if you're in the mood for pasta, go whole hog, but there's no way you're going to watch Tucci touring Italy and not want to eat. So I'm warning you. Okay, Real World, the first season of The Real World in New York City. How many people watched that show? If you're of a certain age, it was pretty important, right? It was groundbreaking. It ruined television for the entire world because it invented reality television. I mean, it certainly didn't invent it. There were certainly other things like that, but not in this particular style. And it certainly wasn't a documentary, even though that's what they all thought they were signing up for. So there's a 30-year reunion, the Real World New York City reunion that's on the new Paramount app. And I'm like, I don't want another app. How many apps do we have to have? But luckily, Paramount released the first episode for free on YouTube. So do yourself a favor and go check out The Real World. Now, I don't know if you remember everybody. You probably remember Eric Nies, AKA Shirtless Eric, the Grind. I don't know that he wore a shirt at all during the season, but he was hot to trot. And then there was rapper Heather B, and there was Kevin, who was sort of like the angry Black writer of the show, and everybody thought like, why is he so angry? Everybody's racist. Why? Well, we all owe you a huge apology, because 30 years later, Kevin was right about everything, and not much has changed. And I think we all need to give Kevin a big hug. Norman, who actually came out on the show as gay, which doesn't sound like a big deal in 2021, but back then it was a huge deal. I also love they play a lot of the same music they played during the episodes in the 90s, and so it really just takes you back. Julie and Becky rounding out the show. Julie was from like, I don't know, some place that gave her a huge Southern accent. I want to say Alabama, but I could be wrong. Who's gonna look the best? Oh, who looked the best? Eric Nies, who's now, well, he's very clean and sober, hasn't put any poisons in his body in like 15 or 20 years, and he's sort of a guru and a life coach. So he looked pretty good. I think everybody looked good. Norman had a little bit extra weight on him, but I don't think it looked bad at all. Becky was the one person who was like the singer-songwriter gal that I probably remember the least. And Andre, who was like the long-haired grunge lead singer who we barely saw after the first few episodes, he shows up and he's adorable, and his hair is long and gray. And yes, Alabama, thank you, Nicole Smoleniak, yay! I have to tell you, those guys, I got like really emotional watching this. There were just these moments where they realized they were so busy and so into their own BS at the time that they really just weren't as real as they could have been, and they genuinely care for each other. And there's a point where, you know, I definitely cried like more than once. I don't know if I'm going to watch the rest of the episodes, because frankly, I can't afford another app right now. As much as I love you guys and I love the show, like that's what the tip jar is for, because we're paying for so many apps right now. It's just insane. But I definitely got emotional, and it was kind of like being at a 30-year high school reunion for people you've never met, but you feel like you knew really well. So I'd be interested to hear what you guys think. And definitely know if you let me know if you keep watching the show. It was a total trip. You know, I love your smile. Remember that song from the 90s? You know, it was stuff like that. And I was just like, oh my God. And they're back in the same apartment that they originally shot the series in New York City. They're only in it for a week. I don't know how they shot a whole, you know, season of shows out of like 7 to 10 days they were together. And I won't spoil it, but one of them got COVID and had to be like piped in via Zoom. So that was kind of a bummer. I don't know how long that's going to last, but it was definitely there. Nicole says, I can't either. Ha ha. Let's wait so we can binge the episodes. Ah, that is a good plan. I'm finding it so difficult to watch episodic television, like waiting a whole week. We're doing it with Snowpiercer because we love Snowpiercer, but it's a pain in the patootie. The shows we didn't do it with, WandaVision being one of them, we finally saw the WandaVision series finale. I don't think there's going to be another season. So I think it's safe to say at this point that it's a series finale. What did you guys think? I thought it was good. I like that they're going to do more stuff like this and they'll tie into the movies and back to the TV shows and whatnot. And of course, you know, true to the whole Avengers, you definitely want to stay past the credits for the last episode for a little extra love there. I'm trying to think of what else we finished up. Oh, Lewis Warren, hello. Lewis Warren saying WandaVision was brutal being episodic, right? I mean, I really don't want to watch anything episodically anymore. And I understand like that's how they make money. And, you know, advertisers need to be able to advertise and whatever, but just do product placement and get it over with already. Like nobody wants to watch commercials anymore. It's no longer a thing. Please stop. Because commercials are playing on the television, but what are you doing? I'm on the phone. I'm not looking at the commercial. I'm waiting until the commercials are over and I'm scrolling on Twitter. Like, see how I'm doing this right now? Totally scrolling my imaginary iPhone. I just think it's ridiculous and I don't want to watch anything episodically anymore if I don't have to. Lewis liked it a lot, so thought it was well done. I do too. I think it was really beautifully shot too. And you know, it was an emotional ending, I thought. Multiverse of Madness is coming, House of M. That is very true. And then, of course, the new Captain America, Falcon and what's his face? I always want to say Falcon and Snowman, which is totally not the right thing. That's an 80s television or movie. The next one is coming, I think, next week on Disney Plus. Casey says we need to be entertained every moment. Isn't that the truth? I have no time to just like sit by and wait. I'm always doing 3 things at once and I can't help myself. And I just need to slow down once in a while. I also finished up Hip Hop Uncovered. I always mess that up. It's a show on FX, Winter Soldier. Thank you. Falcon and the Winter. I don't know what the actual title of the new Disney Plus series is. Is it Falcon and the Winter Soldier? Basically, they're taking over for Captain America. Lewis says the closing credits sequence was different every episode. That's kind of dedicated. Yeah, that is true. And I really wasn't too engaged to care, frankly. Sorry, WandaVision. Hip Hop Uncovered. You think you know everything about the origin of hip hop and how it started and where the money came from. And then you meet these people. It centers around Bimmy, his sister or half sister, Deb, Trick from Detroit, and this guy named Eugene Henley, who everybody knows as Big U. Big U was part of the Rolling 60s Crip gang in Compton, South Central, the whole thing. And he goes to jail for like 15 years, but when he gets out, he's bankrolling, you know, young hip hop artists. And so is Deb, and so is Bimmy. You can see Bimmy, he's traveling with Run DMC in the early days. There's a point where Run DMC are on Arsenio Hall and Bimmy's in the back, and he was a huge drug dealer at the time. So it's amazing how important these people who started out you know, running drugs and then during the crack epidemic, and then taking all that money, putting it back into the community and you know, bankrolling these hip hop stars who then taught them how to give back to their community too. You know, they do the whole, there's a ton of different stories going back and forth. There's a whole thing about Nipsey Hussle and how he was giving back to the community as well and had bought all this, you know, property and stuff. So it's fascinating. I urge you to check it out. It's on FX. All the episodes are have been aired, so you can totally binge it. It's called Hip Hop Uncovered. Really, really good. Really like it. Nicole said, did you see how people in England laughed at all the medicine commercials during Harry and Meghan interview? And then Casey says, wait, I was part of the rolling 60s. Oh, that's right. No, I wasn't. Can we talk about the Meghan Markle and Harry Oprah interview? I know it's a very sort of chick thing to talk about, but I have to just like for a little minute. I didn't really give a crap about Meghan Markle before this, but I got to tell you, I'm team Meghan Markle. First of all, she's adorable. Second of all, boy, did she have some bombs to drop. And nobody's surprised that the royal family would be asking questions like, are we concerned that Archie's skin tone might be too dark when he's born? I mean, anybody who's watched a season or two of The Crown knows that they're diabolical. But, you know, when you make Oprah go, wait, what? And then she repeats everything you say to her because she can't believe it's happening. You're just like, oh, girl. It's fascinating and it's worth the watch, you guys. I know it seems like something so like chick-ish, but it's sad that Meghan was treated the way she was, especially because Harry's mother, Princess Diana, was treated pretty much the exact same way, minus the racism. But, you know, as far as having mental health issues and being completely ignored, it's just really sad that history, you know, trying to repeat itself. Although I will say this, we all remember Harry was at a costume party dressed up as a Nazi when he was a kid and thought it was funny. And now, of course, he's in love and married to a Black woman, and finally got to see what racism is like through her eyes, and got quite an education. So there's a little karma there for sure, which I kind of liked. Team Meghan Markle all the way, Smitty says as well. Riddles, I was in England during their wedding and it was quite a spectacle. I wasn't invited, I just happened to be in London. Were you not invited though, Riddles? Come on now. Everybody knows Boston's favorite bartender is an international celebrity. James Duda keeps jumping off and on, but I'm happy you're here, James. So yeah, that was the the Harry and Meghan thing. Did anybody else think that that was just insane? I mean, you know, I'm not surprised and I'm saddened, but man, the tabloids in England are brutal and they're out for blood. And I think they and the royal family are kind of, you know, fueling each other, and none of it's very good. Is there a reason they still need the monarchy? Can somebody explain that to me? Because I'm a little lost on that as well. Sean is posting a Facebook link, but I don't know what it is. So I'll have to have somebody explain that or look for it later. Oh, best article about the interview. Great. Okay, I will look at that later. Thank you, Sean. We also had a great music submission. Once again, if you have a band or you're a fan of a band that you'd like us to review on the show, we're happy to. Just send the link to our Gmail, which is theworsttalkshow@gmail.com. Christian Montgomery and the Winter Kill Gang sent us some stuff, and I was very pleasantly surprised. It's very, very good. The album Prince of Poverty just came out on the 5th of this month. And I'm really digging a song called Don't Call Me Baby. It's definitely an Americana situation, but there was a lot of like rockabilly tones in there too. And I could also hear like, I don't know, a little Buffalo Tom, a little Morphine. Like it seemed like there were a lot of influences going on there, but in a very good way, not in a derivative way at all. So I will definitely post the links for that. Christian Montgomery and the Winter Kill Gang, and the new album is called Prince of Poverty. So I believe he's also been featured on Boston Emissions, which is Anngelle Wood's baby, as we know and love. And of course, Anngelle will be on the show in just a few minutes. We're very excited. Also, I did want to sort of get to the food thing. Usually we do that at the end, but I have a feeling Miss Anngelle and I are just going to get a little chatty and spill a little tea. So we're probably going to go over a little on that end. So the only thing food related that I really wanted to share this week were chaffles. Does everybody now know what a chaffle is? It's a waffle made out of cheese and other things, whatever you want. But basically, it's a no carb waffle. So I tried my first one this weekend. I used a little bit of almond flour, an egg, and some shredded cheddar cheese, although I hear that shredded mozzarella works better. So I will do some experimentation down the road, but you just put it in a waffle maker. That's it. Comes out looking like a waffle, tasting like a waffle, a savory waffle, but no carbs. I mean, there's a lot of fat, I'm not gonna lie, but you can cut down on that. We used some egg white as well as an egg because we made a few, and you could do like a low fat shredded cheese as well. That would probably be better, but chaffles, I think it's going to become like a staple item in the house of Shaw and Dow. Lewis Warren, for the finger on the button, isn't the Queen still the one to declare war? I don't know about that. And I think maybe that should go away too. What do you think? I don't know. We don't have royals here. We just have idiots that are, you know, legacy people and rich, but that's one thing America got right, I think. Maybe, hopefully. Time will tell. So yeah, anybody else got on the chaffle train? I know a couple of my friends saw the post and went and did their own version, which I think is great. I'm definitely trying to figure out what the new best mix will be. Rob McKinnon, I need the child. Oh, this child? You need Grogu? Sorry, this one's mine. But it does feel nice that Grogu can be right here with me. The Shaw Dow house, I like it. I know you want to say shadow, but it's not shadow, it's Shaw Dow. I like it. It's got a nice ring to it, kind of. Those look great, must try. Oh, Sean, I'm telling you, chaffles are where it's at. And the other thing about chaffle is if you get the mixture right and you make the waffle nice and crispy, you can use it in place of bread and make yourself a sandwich of any kind. So really, like, it's a limitless possibilities of flavor explosions in your mouth. Insert your joke here. So we'll have Anngelle in a couple minutes. I'm sort of waiting for her to pop into the green room, and I'm gonna pounce because she doesn't know that Dave's not here tonight. And so I have to sort of let her down gently. I hope you guys can help me out. And then we're just gonna get to chatting. Rob McKinnon, have you tried tachos? Are those tater tot nachos? The whole point is I'm off the carbs, Rob. So that may not be a thing for me, although it does sound good. I've had potatoes before where they use homemade potato chips and make nachos out of those. Is that what tachos are? Tater tot nachos? The stoners in the group have been doing that for a long time. That's not a new thing, Rob. If it's something different, let me know. Riddles, it's like if you jump on the dance floor and you exclaim, Shaw Dow. Okay. Sam Avola, a waffle maker, the one kitchen tool I don't own. You're kidding. They actually sell chaffle specific waffle makers. They're very tiny. They're only this big. And they're like $10 on Amazon. So you might want to check it out. Oh, with a fried egg, that's some baller stuff there, Rob. You put a fried egg with a sexy yolk on the top of anything and it immediately makes it better. I'm all for that. But again, off of the tater tots for now. And as a Italian, Irish American, saying no to potatoes or pasta is very, very difficult. I am on the struggle bus daily. So if we talk any more about the tachos, I'm gonna have to make some. Sean says, I like to do egg souffle things in muffin tins. Oh yes, also very nice. I like that too. Lewis says, has anyone noticed that new big restaurant items are basically fat kid daydreams? Yes, they are, because that's all over TikTok. And that's what's, you know, everybody's getting so excited about. I mean, you know, where did the McGriddle come from, really? Stoner land, there's no way. What if we have a breakfast sandwich, but we make the bread pancakes with maple syrup already in it? Yes, let's do that, right? I mean, that's how that had to happen. Loaded tater tots rule. Okay, Tachi, you're not helping. Lewis Warren, speaking as a fat daydreaming kid. Right there with you, Lewis. I'm trying to think, there was something. Oh, I had a very proud daughter moment today. Kendall made a bagel, toasted it, put peanut butter on top, and then sprinkled it with chocolate chips. That's my girl. But that's the kind of stoner shit I used to eat back in the day. And back in the day, I mean, like, you know, just a few months ago before I started to get my shit together. Oop, sorry. Nothing like stoner creations. Pioneer woman is our inspiration. Okay, Rob. What else are you guys cooking and baking as we wait for Anngelle to pop on? Oh, she's here. She's here. Can we just go ahead and get her in the room, executive producer Kevin Tachi? Anngelle Wood is in the house. I hope we got her rider correct. You know, apparently she wanted all brown M&Ms, which is totally bizarre, but you know, we do what we have to for our special guests. Anngelle, Anngelle, Anngelle. Let's make it happen, people. You're up, special guest. I'm dying here, sister. Please join me soon. Anngelle Wood, host of Boston Emissions, as you know.
I didn't know you were solo, girl. I would have jumped in a long time ago.
I know, and I didn't want to bother you in case you were doing like a dinner beforehand or whatever.
We did Thai early for you.
Oh, you did? Good. I don't want to interrupt Thai delivery nights ever.
It's our regular, this is the one regular thing in quarantine that we have done. Every Wednesday has become Thai night. I live for it.
It's important to have those little benchmarks in the week too.
Yeah.
Like this show is once we get through this show, it's like, oh, the weekend's here. Mm-hmm. You know, even though it's only Thursday tomorrow, it's like we've made it, we've survived, and the weekend is right around the corner. So
like your work is done. Doesn't it feel good when you're done with like all the prep and everything? I can relate.
Yeah. And on that little note, you know, I so love having my weekends back. I mean, I don't love the pandemic, obviously, but man, now I get it. Like 2 days off in a row is something that us radio part-timers didn't know existed for years. Are we right? Yeah.
It started when we didn't have, because for years and years and years, you and I know for sure that holidays we were punching the clock, so to speak. And then once our radio live sort of shifted when we started to work for a new company, and then we didn't actually have to go in on some holidays, that was kind of nice.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, I don't think I'm pulling back the curtain too far, but you know, there was a point where we could go in and track shifts, which is basically we would pre-record our breaks. So we could get in and out you know, we could do several weekend shifts and only spend a few hours in the studio and have our lives back. And it was kind of lovely.
It took me a little while to get here, but I'm actually really okay with it.
Yeah, me too.
I really feel good. I mean, you and I are the type of people that we stay busy no matter what. Yeah. We figured it out.
Yeah, we certainly have. You know, I think I took a lot of hustle tips from you when I first moved back. You know, because you always had a million things going on, and it's funny, we would catch each other in these moments, and at some point we'd have to tear each other away because it was just too much fun to catch up and be like, oh my God, you're doing this, I'm doing this too. Yeah. And you know, I mean, that's the thing. What do I tell all the kids coming up? Always have a day job, always have a career or something to fall back on, because inevitably radio will destroy you in any way it can, or any, you know, even being a musician and gigs. I mean, you never know what's going to happen. Everybody needs a day job.
I've said it before, and you and I have had these conversations a million times. I've said it in text messages and conversations with you. I love it and I hate it, because there was a point where we were so busy that we took all of the work, and then we would be there at like 11:30 at night on Saturday decompressing with each other about all the work that we just did.
Yeah. I mean, it really got nuts. And I, you know, in a way I feel bad for those that don't know, companies like iHeart, you know, the big, huge radio companies pretty much laid off all their part-time staff and just made their full-time employees do 6 or 7 jobs worth of stuff and not pay them any extra, more than likely. So as much as I am envious of people who have full-time radio jobs right now, I'm also like, I'm good. I'm good, because the pressure that they must be under to not only do their regular shift, but then record several other shifts for several other markets and have to come in on the weekends. It's like, so you're living the life of a part-timer full time.
That's right. That's right. And it's not even for some of those who we all love, by the way. The people that we used to work with, we love, but we know that some of those people don't have, it's not, can you do this? Or would you like to do it? It's like, here, you're going to do this.
Yeah. Yeah, there is no choice. Otherwise, you don't have a full-time job with benefits. So, I mean, that's the thing. They literally, wring you dry for every piece of creativity you possibly have, which I guess makes sense in a capitalistic world. It's just not my jam. And I'm really happy I'm not in the middle of that right now.
I'm away from it for long enough. When I look back at it, I'm like, that really isn't as great as maybe I thought it was.
I think also
so
the fact that we have other outlets to share our opinions on is key. And on that note, obviously Boston Emissions is still here. It's still thriving. It's now in sort of a podcast, but also video form. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And
yeah. I've been just, having fun because I miss seeing people's faces. So like this, an extension of the show.
Yeah. And you also have a new baby that's blowing up. Like, I can I just say how impressed I am with this podcast? Your voice is like butter, which we already knew. But in this particular medium, it's like, chef's kiss. It's perfect.
Thank you.
And like your humor and your snarkiness and your sarcasm come through. It's like a subtle, it's like getting slapped, but with like chocolate. Do you know what I mean? It's like, please,
that's awesome.
I have another. Yeah.
Oh, it's good. It's good.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's called Crime of the Truest Kind.
Yep. Yeah.
And it's basically talking about crimes that have happened in the New England area. And there's, I think from what I've seen and what I've heard, it really runs the gamut. It can be anything, really.
Yeah.
I had focused recently on the station fire, because that's like a 3-parter, right?
Yeah. That grew into a 3-parter because it was so much to that story, even all these years later.
Yeah. I mean, I was living in Las Vegas at the time it happened, and I remember just being so sad and upset and horrified watching all of this on the news and knowing that people that we knew were there and just so freaked out. But you were here. Tell us what that was like for you, and then what it was like hooking up with the author of this book and sort of talking through that stuff on the podcast.
Well, as you know, I was doing the morning show at FNX. And at that point, FNX became this radio network. So it was going from like mid-Maine all the way down to the tip of Long Island on a good day. And we were all over the place. We were all these dial positions all across New England, which was great, but also could get really confounding and confusing. And one of the things that we ran into was the morning after the station fire, so the 21st of February. And some of us are in the studio in Lynn, Massachusetts. Some of us are in the studio in Providence doing this really silly thing. We used to make jokes about how I can't see you, the computer's in the way, because not the whole show was together in the same place. Actually, I don't know if Farmy was still, anyway, I don't remember who the host was, but I was on the show nonetheless. And we learned about the station fire early in the morning. Of course, we were just out of our heads because we were heard in Providence and we had a great deal of concern about everybody. But also at the same time, technology bit us in the ass because that morning we were still airing the station commercials for the Great White show that next morning. Talk about horrifying. People were just calling in and begging us to take it off the air. We were horrified. We had no idea because of the way it's set up. And you probably remember, there was a screen for the Massachusetts commercials, a screen for the Rhode Island commercials, a screen for the Maine commercials. But when you're in the Massachusetts studio, you don't hear what's going out over the air in Providence. So,
well, it frankly wasn't our department anyway,
no.
But that's, that was the kind of thing where back in the day that would have been handled, but FNX was a very different station by that point, and things like that just, we're going to fall through the cracks at a regular pace. So that must have been pretty devastating. I was on the air on the morning show for 9/11, and I know how traumatizing that was. They kept us on until 3:00. But did you guys end up going over? Did you put people live on the air? Like, besides the fact that people were obviously upset that these ads were running.
I feel like we picked it up a little later because we were based generally out of the Boston area. I know Henry definitely covered it because Henry Santoro was the news person at the time, and I'm positive that Henry would have covered it. I just don't remember every aspect of what happened, though.
Yeah,
I remember that was 2 years after what happened on 9/11, and it was a similar feeling of panic and unknowing, and because there was still a question as to who was still alive.
Well, right. I mean,
we didn't know if any of our people were there.
Right. And I remember hearing later on that, so-and-so was there, but they're okay.
Yeah.
Or, so-and-so is there, but then, the one image that kept coming back to everybody was everybody stuck trying to get through the front door and not being able to make it out, and how horrifying that was. And the fact that the pyrotechnics and all that should never have been allowed anyway. And, and then you have this great author on your podcast, and I did not write down his name.
Scott James.
And is he originally from this area as well?
He is. He's from North Attleboro, but he he ran the news department of one of the TV stations in Providence for many years before. He was already gone to the West Coast before the station nightclub fire. Otis is here, by the way. So if you hear somebody coughing up along, it's my dog. Scott James had
a bulldog sighting, I will have achieved greatness.
He's here somewhere. He was in Providence, so he knew Jeff Derderian, one of the brothers who owned the station at the time. They were, I wouldn't call them friends, but he worked for him in the same newsroom. And
yeah, that guy was a news guy that we saw here as well.
He was on Channel 7,
Boston, right? Okay.
Yeah, he was here for a long time, and he had just recently moved back to the Providence market. He was, so here are some of the things about the station. Obviously, the station fire is horrible and, had a ripple effect among, thousands and thousands of people. The entire state was affected by that. But at the same time, the Derderians were just about ready to sell the business. They didn't own the building. They just owned the business. They leased the building itself. So there's a lot of questions about who else is responsible for this fire that never actually got implicated in any of the criminal aspects of it. But they were just about ready to sell it. They were like days away from not being under the burden of the station nightclub anymore. And it burned to the ground. So because of that, they were on the hook for everything, and they were vilified the night of. And after all of the things that I've learned about this and reading the book and speaking to Scott James, the author, and kind of putting all the pieces, I mean, there's certainly still things, unanswered questions, and that's going to be forever. But what happened to the Derderians the night of the fire is still burning. The chief of police of West Warwick said, "Oh yeah, the Derderians definitely going to get charged for this."
Wow.
So they
right
just decided.
Yeah.
They just decided, you're it.
Right. And the truth probably lies more in a perfect storm of a million things happening together to make that. But when there is a tragedy and a senseless tragedy, we need somebody to blame immediately, and that's just how it is in our culture, right?
Well, in a lot of families, and I completely understand this. I've had people say to me, I was talking about this book, and people are like, "That's garbage. Don't give those people any time." And I said, I completely understand why you would feel that way. I completely understand why you're angry, because your loved ones were not kept safe. That's legitimate. That's totally legitimate for you to be angry about this. And I can't tell people how to feel. I'm not going to tell them to go read the book. It's up to them. It's there for them if they want to read it. It's very interesting that there are all of these, the grand jury met, but they didn't they didn't end up going to trial because the Derderians, pled out on various
Like
charges.
lesser charges. Yeah.
And one of the brothers, this is very strange. The brothers had to decide who was going to go to jail.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. I didn't even know that was a thing.
That was strange.
Like a little Sophie's Choice.
Yeah, it was very strange.
Wow.
And I would never, I feel like the Derderians are culpable because they own the business and they're responsible, whether they knew that the foam was flammable or not, they're still on the hook for it, right?
Right.
There are so many other people that weren't implicated that should have been. Let's face it. They had several inspections and they passed. I mean, I know it's Rhode Island and,
Yeah, I mean, there was a point where that, that whole area was run by a mayor that was in jail at the time, right? So,
BCNC, and they reelected him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The original Rascal King, or maybe not the original, but
oh my God, yeah.
One of. So definitely check out that podcast in the 3-part episode. But what are your other favorite sort of truest crimes that you've covered so far? And do you have like a wish list of somebody you're sort of ready to pounce on?
It really depends on the case. And some of the cases that I have covered to date, it's really sensitive. Because a lot of cases, it's been many, many years have gone by. For example, I did the story about Leanne Milius and Kim Farah. They were 2 teenage girls who were murdered in Salem, New Hampshire by some other some 20-year-old boys that they had befriended. They're just teenage girls doing what we all did, wanted to have fun, want to have boyfriends, go out and have a good time. And unfortunately, they were vulnerable and they got killed as a result. And I did a story, it was probably like my 3rd episode. And I'm always very mindful and I want to be empathetic and I never want to celebrate criminals, but I want to tell what happened in a meaningful way, but not a murder porn way. Right. And their family reached out to me. I heard from their family and their mother thanked me. One of the girls' mother thanked me for the way I talked about her girls.
Wow.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Wow.
And I invited them to talk. I invited them. I said, I would be happy to clear up any misunderstandings if I got something wrong. And they said, so much time has gone by. We don't think we're ready to do something like that. Despite that so much time has gone by. And I respect that. The door's open. But I was just really, I was moved that somebody reached out. And
Why
said,
wouldn't you be? That's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this happened in they were killed in the late 90s. So much time has gone by. They would be adult women, now with full lives. And, I can't imagine what it's like for a family to have that burden all these years. And then
are you able to leave it when the mic shuts off, if you will?
No.
So how has that been for you? Because I imagine there may be a nightmare or two associated with dealing with that kind of stuff.
It definitely triggers some stuff. I definitely have had some weird dreams where I'm sort of in the pattern of whatever the storyline was to a degree. And, I kind of know it. We have this weird capability to like, it registers even in your dream state. You're like, oh, okay, this is not real. It's weird, but it's not real.
Right.
There's just been some really hard details to some of this stuff. And you're like, how much of this stuff do I say? I just want to be careful about that because you do learn some details, some really gory details about some of this stuff. And to a degree, you want to report it because there's a part of you that wants the audience to understand what the victim went through, but not so much where it's exploitative.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. Like there are so many shows like this, especially on TV. I don't know a lot about the different podcasts. Of course, I hear about them. But and of course, Saturday Night Live nailed it with the, drinking of the wine and watching the true crime shows. So funny.
It's really funny because that's what Paul will say to me. Can we just not watch a murder show?
I get very fascinated with like anything to do with Ted Bundy or some of the serial killers. I totally get that. And Dave's the same way. He's like, I can't watch this. And I'm like, really? Because I'm totally all in.
I have actually said I'm going to relax and watch or, listen to a podcast about something horrible, but it's oddly relaxing. It's like a bubble bath for my ears. I don't know.
It's interesting. I think for some people, it's just the fact that like when you hear about this scary stuff and it'll teach you what not to do, but also there is that
lock your doors,
that, like,
everybody lock your doors, lock your doors, please.
When I was married to my ex-husband Trevor, he grew up in Sheboygan, Wisconsin, and we would go back and visit the family. And inevitably, I would have to run out at the end of the night and lock every single door in that house because people in Wisconsin did not lock their doors.
You
and I
always
was like,
hear that story.
Are you?
It was the kind of town where nobody locked their doors until somebody got axe murdered.
Yeah, I was just like, if you like to, steal things, just go to Sheboygan because nobody locks their doors. And I was like a new mom, so of course
you're ultra panicked. Yeah,
steal my kid.
Yes.
Oh my god. And they'd be like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm just locking all the doors."
Because we're weird massholes and we just do weird stuff like that. Like,
but now we know, we listen to these true crime podcasts and we understand. Lock the damn door.
That's how some of it happens. That's how the Night Stalker was born.
Jim Pericotti says, I'm looking at the comments. By the way, Bob Tarasi says hello and thank you for tackling such a interesting and yet somber subject. Jim Pericotti says, my wife watches Evil Lives Here as I drift off to sleep. I imagine that happens quite a bit in certain bedrooms across the country.
A lot. This true crime thing is, I had absolutely no idea of the level. I've always been interested in it, but I wasn't so hardcore that I listened to 10, 15, 20 podcasts a day. I dabbled and I'm familiar with a lot of them. Oh, I had no idea. It's massive.
And it's the underbelly of, our society, right? And it's just so like, until it happens to you or in your backyard, you just don't really. So to live vicariously in a way and to find these things out, it's totally fascinating because we just didn't have the access to that kind of stuff before. We only learned information that the news or the police wanted us to learn, and that was it.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And some of the stories are still hard. It's still difficult to dig. Research can be tough because you want to try to find as much information about the story as you can. And, I've learned some tricks and I've joined, I've gotten library memberships where I have access to their digital, content, stuff like that, which has been really helpful. And there's so many podcasts out there that I'm astounded. And the people who are in the true crime community or in the podcast community in general, but particularly the true crime people, they're super cool. Like really, really, really cool.
We got a little peek into that on the HBO show with Patton Oswalt's widow.
Yeah.
And the Golden State Killer, that whole thing. But I was curious if it was more of a competitive situation and it seemed like they all sort of lift each other up and help each other.
Yeah, they've been really, really great. There's a series of people that, Instagram has a big community, and Twitter in a different way. Facebook not as much. It's Reddit. The world of Reddit and subreddit is pretty amazing. But that's also where some of those sleuths live. And that's good and bad. If you have not watched the Cecil Hotel documentary on Netflix, I would recommend.
I haven't yet, but yes, go on.
You learn about the dark underbelly of internet sleuthing and how horrible that it can actually be.
You can ruin somebody's life.
Yes, and they almost did that. They almost did that. There's I don't want to give too much away for anybody who hasn't seen it, but there is I'll say a character in the Cecil Hotel documentary that is bullied. And that's not a demon, that's my dog.
That was a little spooky as we were talking about spooky things. And I was like, there's a demon behind you. Nope, it's just a bulldog. Oh, hi. Oh my goodness, that is awesome. You cracked me up so hard yesterday. You posted something on Twitter about the poo line reaching the patio. Can you tell me what
it used to be a lot of snow and just a little bit of poop. Now it's the ratio is narrowing. There's a lot of like moist poo in my yard right now, and this is the really, we need to add this to the seasons of Massachusetts, I guess, particularly for my home. This is almost like, I don't know what to call it. I'm going to have to come up with some name for it, but it's like soggy dookie season.
When the frozen poo thaws before as the spring comes.
Well, not for nothing. There was so much poo during the height of like the cold snap. It was frozen and I was trying to kick the poo. And some of it would come out, but some of it was still frozen in the ice. So I'm going to pay for that. I'm going to pay.
Yeah. And it's funny. Do you get to the point where you're actually excited it snows because it covers all the poo and then you don't have to deal with it for another couple of days?
Yes, I had been for a while, but now, here we are mid-March, year 1, by the way.
I know. Oh,
I'm ready for sunshine. Tomorrow's going to be like 70 degrees. I'm honestly not going to know what to do with myself.
Yeah, I definitely want to get out there. I've been any day that's over 50, I try to go walk on the beach just to sort of pretend that there's some normalcy in my life. I know we talked so much about Crime of the Truest Kind, but I did want to talk about Boston Emissions. We only have like 5 minutes left, but I just, we have asked people to send us music to review, and I wasn't sure anybody was going to respond, but so far they have. And Christian Montgomery, and it's not the Winter Hill Gang, but I can't remember the Winter Kill Gang. I noticed on the stuff that he sent me was a link to Boston Emissions, and I was like, yay! I'm like, well, if Anngelle has already reviewed you, you've been fully vetted, and yes, I will talk about you. But tell me some of the bands and some of the artists that locally are really like razzle dazzling you right now.
Well, I absolutely love our friend Addie Sun, who is an amazing songwriter. And I always knew that they were a really talented person, but to see them kind of grow into this songwriting and creative, this new creative aspect of their lives is really great. I love Senseless Optimism, a new artist that's, she goes by like bedroom pop, but there's like a little jazz in there too.
Oh, interesting.
He's really cool. Who else am I listening to these days? It's a really long list, and I always get tripped up because I just can't really ever think of all of the millions of bands that I'm listening to. The new Corner Soul record was really great. They're a Rumble favorite from 19. Oh gosh. I like this new artist named Kipsy. Don't really know a lot about them. They're called Kipsy. One of the songs of the week this week. Lockett's a great band. Bridget from Once Ballroom heads off that band. So many. Oh man, we have a great community of music, and people have been active and doing stuff despite the fact that they can't get together.
Right. And I miss the Rumble so much because that was how I could stay cool and relevant, because in the span of 1 week, we could be exposed to the cream of the crop.
Yeah,
the best of the best. It was like not having to sift through a mountain to get to the gold. You had it all there right for us. And it was like, oh, of course I know about that band. Are you kidding me? Like, that was at the Rumble, and so I can't wait for that to come back in whatever form it's going to come back.
Tomorrow's the 11th. Tomorrow the 11th. Yeah, tomorrow's the 11th. So tomorrow is the 1-year anniversary of announcing the class of 2020. And as I was announcing it, I'm thinking, I don't think we're going to be having this, but I had to follow through because I had to hit my deadline, right? So I'm announcing these great bands and I'm thinking, given everything that we're learning, how are we going to do this? And sure enough,
Yeah.
canceled April, rescheduled for the summer, and nothing happened. So I'd love to say we can do a Rumble in 2021. It just doesn't seem possible. So here we go, 2022.
Yep, I think 2022 will be the year that we really get back to live music. And, even if we have to distance ourselves a little just to be in the same room with a band playing is going to be lovely.
Well, you know my backyard. So
yes,
we're
I do.
going to be, once I pick up all the soggy
By
dookie.
the way, there's a huge conversation happening on the comments about poo and dung. We've turned a corner.
I will read up.
Yeah.
What
The season of the poo.
Oh, see, now you guys are onto it. You're onto it.
Yep, Casey Riddle's just coined that for you. But yes, you have a lovely backyard, so you could even have a little something right there.
We're gonna try to utilize it and just have like little get-togethers, and have people who are into coming playing quietly and keeping it small. Safe, small. We don't know what the future holds. I love to say that we're all going to be able to be vaccinated by, June. Wishful thinking.
Well, the other thing is, how long is the vaccination good for? I'm hearing it's only like 3 months. And I'm like, are you kidding me? That can't possibly be true. They don't have enough data to tell you otherwise. So we really don't know how long that vaccination is even going to last.
That's crazy, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, the idea of going back to anything normal is no longer a thing. It's going to be whatever the future is, will be what it is. But and not to get down in the dumps about any of it, but there will be joy again in Mudville, people. It will happen, in whatever form it takes. I will post all your links, but can you tell people like where they can find the podcast and where they can watch Boston Emissions right now for everybody? And of course I will post all the links as well on Friday.
Yeah. So the show, you can listen to it directly at bostonemissions.com. It's also on most podcast platforms. Most people listen directly through the webpage, I believe. It re-airs on Bumblebee Radio with Kristen X, so that's really cool. The podcast Crime of the Truest Kind, you can find it directly at crime@thetruestkind.com and on all major podcast platforms. So if you listen to Apple Podcasts, it's on Spotify, it's on Google Play, it's on Amazon, it's on Pandora, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, it's wonderful. And I'm so glad you were here, and I'm going to have you back more so we can spill more tea about the FNX days for sure, because that'll be like a whole episode. I don't know that anybody else will get a word in edgewise besides the two of us, but that'll be diabolical and wonderful. So thank you. The joy of poo is another one. Like they just keep coming. You have turned my show into a poo palooza. So thank you. And thank you, Otis, for providing some demon noises in the background. Yay! It's always better when a bulldog is involved. Like, absolutely. So thank you very much, Anngelle. I love you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Dave loves you, and he says give all of his love to PG as well.
I will.
And we can't wait to get back into that backyard too. So, and Hank.
Soon enough.
Yay! So thank you guys for watching, and thank you. Please check out Angelle's podcast and of course Boston Emissions. And thank you to everybody who's hitting up the Venmo tip jar at DJ Angie C. It helps us with the apps and watching all these wonderful things and being able to sift through them so you don't watch the poo. Good night, everybody. We'll see you next week.